Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to look at is a really wonderful watch by Philippe Dufour called the Dufour Simplicity. And the watch itself is well named. It's simple horology. And you have he has more than one dial, but this particular dial it's surrounded by Roman numbers, and then at 6 o'clock there's a good-sized sub-dial for the second hand. Both of the dial hands are brigade hands with moons, and it's a simple, clear watch. This particular one, I believe, is 37 millimeters, so they weren't hurt huge. Now, when this was first built, this is from 2000, the price on it then was $35,000. Now at the time, people thought, "Wow, that's an awful lot for a time-only watch, a three-hand watch. Why are you charging so much?" And what Dufour said, he says that's how long it takes him because everything was done by hand. But if you look at the dial, it's down there. It says Medellin, which is the name of the dial maker. And we'll talk about that some more in a bit. But this is something, when you look at this, it's just, where's $35,000? Today, if you could find one for $35,000, you could turn around and sell it for $1 million. These are great watches. Now, the first clue of that is that if you look at the movement, it really has exquisite finishing. The angles are the angling, the work that's done to basically take the sharp edges off. When the metal, when the plates and the and bridges are created, you have some little metal edges, and so the anglage is when you bevel them, basically. And if you look at this carefully, there's the anglage is just it's really amazing. You have little finger bridge down there at 6 o'clock, and over at 3 o'clock you can see the balance cock, and then another set. You have another little it's somewhere between a bridge and a plate about 7 o'clock that is sort of anchors one of the gears in there. And if you look up at right in the middle of it, you can see these. They look like little horns, sort of, that are sticking out. And if you, in real close examination, when you look at the anglage, a friend of mine who's a watchmaker told me, he says, you can tell the difference between the ones that are done by hand and the ones that are done by a machine, because he said the ones that are done by hand, if you look at the points, you can see how they've been beveled on the point. Whereas if they're done by a machine, they just come to a point with no beveling on the point itself. So all of the parts are really beautiful. Now there's something called black polish, and this was added to it to give it a special look. And the Geneva waves, and then around the sides you can see the little circles of perlage. Now there's a wonderful online, I guess, be a magazine or post or page called the Naked Web Watchmaker. Not the Naked Web Maker. And it's the guy does it, Peter Speak-Marin, who's a watchmaker himself. And what he does, he deconstructs movements so we can find out what's going inside. Now, you could almost not ask for a simpler movement. These are the basics of every movement, really. You have a balance wheel with a balance spring. You have a barrel where the mainspring is wound. You have a ratchet wheel. And then you have some other wheels, different kinds of things, depending on the particular watch. And then you have the gear train. and an escape wheel and a pallet fork. That's your basic watches. I mean, this is like, if you want to know how a watch works, you can look at something this simple. Now, there's more to it than that. You have, but not a lot. I mean, when you take out the middle part, the rest of it, you have the keyless works, and you have the bridges and plates that have to be made, and then sort of a base plate that everything goes into, the crown and the stem and so forth. This was also from the Naked Watchmaker. And you look at this, it says, why is this worth $35,000? And how in the world, or why in the world, do people pay up to $1 million if they can only find one, and they can't find them because once people get them, they hang on to it? What is the secret here? I mean, this would be like, hey, I'll make a simple watch and get the parts from God knows where and put it together. That's not why. If you really look closely, you can see the countersinks, the clouding. It's sort of it's a type of, not clouding to obscure, but clouds that have a billowy almost effect to them on the finishing of it. And there's those horns again with the beveled tips to it. The balance, you can see on the two of the arms are those two little things that look like fat horseshoes. Those are the balance weights, and they can be turned to make very fine changes in the balance. And you have you do have a free sprung balance, and the entire to the escapement, the balance wheel going back and forth, keeping it in perfect time. And again, the finishing is really beautiful. And here too, you have every part of it. If you look at, you have these countersinks with the jeweled caps on them, and the black polished screws. The whole thing, everything about it is really down to what is more than craftsmanship. I mean, it's almost like a Picasso of watchmaking. And that's where the value is, not in how many you can knock out and how many you can get out the door, but rather how much is given to it. Also, too, notice the teeth on the wheels, the gear wheels are how they're set, and the balance weights on the outside of the balance wheel. Everything is down that. One of the things that I like about this is this little thing that I found. It says the vision of the simplicity is dignified and immaculate. And you look at that, and I got to tell you, you probably don't look twice, but you don't see anything ugly about it. Dignified and immaculate. It says easily mistaken for enamel. The dial is actually treated with white lacquer. They use lacquer instead of enamel because, well, there's a lot of issues with enamel, but and I like enamel, but but lacquer is more durable and doesn't make it fat, and that can be a problem, believe me. The end result is a luscious, pristine dial that accentuates the black print on it. And you look at it, and yeah, that's clear as a bell. Dufour uses long Roman numerals for the hours and Arabic numerals for the tens of seconds. The minute and second scales are railroad style, apart from his name printed beneath the 12-hour marker and the expected Swiss-made inscription under the subdial. Metalim, as it turns out, was a dial manufacturer. The dial was not in-house, and this is such a relief. As a collector, as a watch collector, we want to know what we're buying. And if somebody who buys a Dufour said, well, how come the dial isn't in-house? Because Metalim makes a beautiful dial. Same with the hands. They don't make hands. I don't know who made the hands, but they're very nice looking hands on it. And I don't know whether they have the names on the back of the hands or not. Um, it's this point. He says the Dufour lets metal imprint its name almost as an act of defiance against the systematic industry practice of obfuscating their suppliers. It's a watch that is so good that they don't have to. They don't have to say, "Well, we did the dial too," or not give credit where the credit is due on that. But they certainly did the rest of it and did a heck of a job on it. Now, for this kind of watch, I mean, what other ones have sort of this kind of value, or the sort of something like this that people would really like to have? There's nothing but a three-handed watch, really, but done magnificently. And so I sort of looked around. I came up with these. Now, these are all hand wound. These are not automatics. There were some great automatics out there, but I didn't include them. And probably the most famous, or one of the most famous, is the Patek Philippe Calatrava. Very simple watch, hands and subdial, or they have different versions of it. I think some of them have center second, but I'm not sure. They may not, because they want it really thin. One watch, a very unusual one, has the same kind of level of quality, is the Chronomet Blue. People love the Chronomet Blue. Now, they're part of a sort of a larger sort of subclass of FP Journe watches called the Chronomet Souverain, and they're in gold and platinum. But the blue was the one in a tantalum case, which is very difficult to work with. And but the same great movement that's in the other Chronomet Souverains. Likewise, the Vinge 8 by Carrie Voot and Lana, and this is another one that has that relatively straight up, simple time only dial on it. It has a few more. It has the Guilloche in the middle, and then it has they're almost observatory hands to it, and then the outer ring has the numbers. But that's small compared to, I mean, these real complicated watches that have all kinds of parts and things to them, and they do special tricks. The classic Origin Opaline by Laurent Ferrier in the bottom left on that. That's another one that's just clean as a whistle, very simple. The Assegai hands, the spear hands, just a very simple, straightforward watch, very valuable. Now, one of the most valuable, I'm right up there with Dufour's, is the Roger Smith. This is Series 1. This was the very first series that Roger Smith made. And he does everything. I think, I don't know if he makes the springs or not, but he does everything else in all of the series. And this is the first series. And again, you have three hands watch with the time. Very straightforward, very simple. But these watches are so valuable, and people say, well, they want a chronograph, or they want this, or they want that, and just pile all kinds of other stuff on it. There is incredible, really, I think some of the most beauty in watches are the simple ones, and because there's such strength and simplicity. A cluttered watch with all kinds of gizmos on it doesn't do anything for me. But to have a watch that you simply look at the watch, you tell the time, and it keeps good time is, I think, that kind of value in the kind of craftsmanship, you'll find in these watches as well. Okay, well, this is something that I've wondered about and worried about and thought about, and I thought I'd like to get your opinion too. What do you think about what's a nice simple watch that you enjoy, that you'd like to have? And these are all fairly expensive, but they have some other ones too that are inexpensive. Let's hear what you have to say. It's an opportunity to subscribe if you like. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Outside, the Art and Science of Watch Collection.